Welcome to Mother's Narrative Network. Before we begin, please like and subscribe for more daily uploads. Hope you enjoy today's video. Part 3 of the most embarrassing things children have said in public. The daughter of a lady I work with caused much mirth in the local Tesco a few years ago. She was 4 at the time. Whilst doing the weekly shop, said daughter disappeared into the next aisle and a cry came up of "Mummy, I've found your juice." She then appeared from around the corner carrying a bottle of red wine. My friend trying to explain honestly how she was having a baby by donor sperm to her 8-year-old DS. Because it takes girl parts and boy parts to make a baby, and I only have girl parts. The next day they are talking to the neighbor man, acquaintance at most, and her DS says, "You have a willy, you can help my mum make a baby." Cringe factor. I was sitting in Domino's Pizza with DS14, and he says rather loudly, "Mummy, has that lady eaten too much pizza?" I turned to see a very large lady sitting next to us. He also told a lady in the coupe that he had gone to school in his pajama top, rushed morning where I didn't realize he was wearing vest, PJ t-shirt, school polo and jumper. DS, age 3, on kissing old lady in sitting room of old people's home. Very loudly, core. That prickled. DD, at supermarket checkout, loading up her loot. "I've got peanuts now. I just need a willy." My DC haven't said anything as funny as this yet. When we went to France for the first time as little kids, my mum made a big point of telling us how French policemen had gums. On the way back to the ferry, we got pulled over for speeding. Cue my brother, 3 years, screaming at the policeman, "Don't shoot my daddy." DS1, 3 at the time, in our village shop. He saw an old lady and for some reason took a dislike to her, even though she was smiling kindly at him. He pointed his tube of Smarties up at her and started waving them like a wand whilst saying, "Get back, you creepy thingy." I bought a toolkit for DS, 2 years, when we were renovating house, so he could do DIY with daddy. Unfortunately the imitation was a bit too good. Found him banging with hammer, happily saying over and over again, "Knock knock, sure it. Knock knock, sure it." Years ago, I was at a wedding in a small country church. There was a little boy there about 2/3, who was fascinated by the cameras everyone had. At the end of the service, the official photographer was standing in the aisle waiting to snap the happy couple as they walked out of the church. He was holding one camera, and the other one was hanging over his shoulder. It was a big SLR with a long lens. Small boy gazed admiringly at it for a few seconds, before saying very loudly in impressed tone of voice, "You've got a big one." My own dear DS has been fairly restrained, but I did once take him with me to drop off some cash to a local builder. Very kindly he and his wife asked us in for a cup of tea, so to entertain us DS announced loudly, "I've done 2 poos today." It wasn't even true. But as we were potty training at the time, I suppose it was the most impressive feat he could think of to amuse the assembled company. In Lou in Sainsbury's, Didi pipes up in a very loud voice, "Mummy, why are you wearing a baby nappy?" Sanitary towel, from my own childhood. I actually remember this one shouting across the road on the way to school, at neighbor Susan and her mum. My mum doesn't like the name Susan in a voice. I was very fond of our cat. One day we were on the bus, and I was sitting on mum's lap. The woman in front had a fur collar on her coat. Mum said I suddenly leaned forward, started stroking the collar, and saying loudly, "Nice pussy." "Ah? Lovely pussy." The woman turned round, irritated and embarrassed, but Mum was laughing too much to stop me. Great thread. DD3, loudly to DH at our local supermarket, "Daddy, put me in the trolley now, or I'll stab you." I have twins, and DS, too, wanted to wear dresses like his sister. We explained that boys the men don't. We went to a wedding, got there late, the church was full and everyone was sitting quietly, waiting for the bride to arrive. We hovered at the back, wondering where to sit, when DS pointed down the aisle and shouted, "Look! That man's wearing a dress." It was the vicar. DH has a choice turn of phrase on occasion, and DD is 3 and repeats things verbatim that he says. In a National Trust garden last week, went to the ladies' loos, 5 cubicles occupied with genteel old ladies. DD and I enter the only empty cubicle, whereupon DD recoils in horror, and cries out UGH. Yuck! Mummy, someone has turfed one out. I had to laugh and heard more laughter coming from adjacent cubicles. I've just remembered another one which happened recently. DS aged 5 said in the queue at the chemist's for no apparent reason, and in the most plaintive voice, I have heard him use "Please mummy stop drinking so much red wine." Everyone turned round to get a look at the drunken mother. It wouldn't be so bad, but I hardly ever drink. DH took DS swimming recently. After their swim, DH asked DS in the changing room if he needed to go for a wee. He replied very loudly, "No, it's okay daddy, I did a wee in the pool." So, there was the time with the man with dwarfism. DS too shouted, "Look at that man, look at that man," all in earshot of the man, pointing and speaking in a loud voice. Thought that was bad enough. That was until DS1 piped up in all seriousness, "Don't worry DS2, it's just an elf." FFS. Carrot girl, you reminded me, my DD, age 3, used to tantrum regularly if we were on our way home, say from dropping brother at school, or from playgroup etc., and if I picked her up to expedite matters, she would yell at the top of her voice, "This woman's not my mother." Also, on the bus with DS aged 4 who had recently had chicken pox. On gets a hooded youth about 17, with acne, who sits opposite us, knees touching, you know the seats I mean, "Look mummy, that little boy's had chicken pox too." Going to school, she on scooter, me lagging behind due to only walking. DD. If you moved a bit faster mummy, you could get some of that weight shifted. Thanks, dear. Mine is similar to Lady Blabber's. My youngest, who was 3 at the time, and has the most squeakiest voice which carries for miles, think Alvin the Chipmunk, pipes up on seeing a man with dwarfism, "Mummy look, look, one of Santa's elves." Remembered another one. Visiting neighbors for first time. Elderly couple, sitting in lounge having a cuppa. Their dog comes in. DS7 pipes up, "Hello doggy, have you just been for AW?" The lady interrupts, "No. Don't say the W word, he'll go mad." QDS what, wanger. Luckily they saw the funny side. We were at the zoo and I asked the boys where they wanted to go next. They replied the buggery, meaning bug house OBV, and ran off going buggery full blast. I was actually quite proud of them. On the receiving end, I was in supermarket, without the kids, and queued up for the loo, can't think why it was so busy. Anyway, there were only 2 cubicles, and when it was my turn I went in and there was the biggest jobby I have ever seen blocking the whole bowl UGH. Didn't know what to do though, it seemed really childish to come out again, and wait for the other cubicle with all these people waiting etc., so went for it anyway. Yucks, anyway. It would not flush away, so in the end I sidled out and a woman went in with her little daughter. Started washing my hands, still a queue, and the little girl goes really loudly, "Look mummy, that lady has done the most enormous poo." Then I could hear the mum trying to shut her up. Wanted the ground to swallow me up, but also wanted to say loudly, "It wasn't me. It was already there, LOL, I just slunk out instead." We went to the seaside when our DS was 2. He had trouble pronouncing some words. He said itch for beach. Hence whenever we went near the beach he shouted itch and pointed madly. Women walking by gave us some dirty looks. We were in hysterics. DS1 used to frequently yell help. Help, in public whenever I wanted him to do something which wasn't quite to his liking. I got loads of looks from people who I'm sure suspected I was trying to kidnap him. He also makes up his own words and was shouting "Baki Baki," but the B sounded more like APO, and my lovely DNS 11 and 13 have taught both boys to shout Buddha at the top of their lungs frequently. I should just stay home. Another public toilet story, 2 cubicles and a queue. DS sits thoughtfully on the loo and listens to the waterfall next door. Core. She's doing loads of "wee mum Q" sniggers from the queue. Spasmodic silence from the next cubicle. Not what DD, 21 MTHS, said, but did. I was pretending that I understood what the plumber was telling me about why the boiler wasn't working, when Dee Dee scooted round the corner on her trike wearing Mummy's skimpiest G-string proudly on her head, and sat there watching us trying to keep straight faces. What a brilliant thread! I'm crying with laughter as I read. Dee Dee 5, at rubbish. Pantomime crowd is subdued and the pantomime dame decides to G us up, telling us to wake up and laugh more. Dee Dee stands up and into the silence shouts, in deeply offended voice, "But you're not funny." When she was a toddler, DH worked away. He also had long black hair, and she once chased a poor emo teenage boy with long black hair, all the way down the main street screeching "Daddy" in a plaintive wail. I was old enough to be his mum, poor boy. A friend told her 3 years old to stop being a baby in the Waitrose queue response. "I'm not a ducking baby. I'm a ducking tiger." Oops. On a bus with DS, when he was about 2, the man in front of us was having a very exasperated and repetitive conversation on his phone, the gist of it being that he was going home, not coming back, and that someone else would be over later. Mercifully, he got off the bus a stop before we did, because as we disembarked, DS suddenly yelled, "I'm going home. I'm not coming back, and Lee's taking over later." My sister, aged 4 at the time, was asked at church, "What's your daddy's name?" She replied, "Uncle Keith." She'd only ever heard my cousins calling my dad by his name. Whilst handing a bottle of wine to a cashier, DS 5 says, "Mummy likes alcohol. My mummy's an alcoholic." I would like to point out I rarely drink. In a packed lift with my DDS and DD1, who was about 4, let out a really loud burp. "Me, what do you say?" Expecting her to say "Pardon me." DD1, very proudly, "Core, that was a good one, wasn't it?" Cue lots of look from the people in the lift and me, all at my failed attempt at teaching manners. DD2, aged 5, in museum shop, going to pay for her postcard. Very tall, and V obviously transvestite, woman on the till. DD2, "Excuse me." Woman bends down, smiling, as DD2 is proffering postcard and money. "Are you, or did you used to be, a man?" DH and I cowered behind the books and didn't hear a reply. DD age 3 to Granny, "Where is the adult magazine Daddy reads in the toilet?" After much embarrassment all round, DD explains, "The one with all the Christmas presents in." She had been looking for the Argos catalogue. Haystack, love that one. Reminds me of my friend's sister, who apparently, in the middle of a really long sermon, stood up on the church pew and shouted, "Shut up," while everyone else was thinking it. I was cut up really badly by a white van driver and blurted, "Knob sock," and then from the back seat, DD 18 months old, came sock. The relief, partly. Oh, and my friend didn't think she swore much in the car, until someone else hooted their horn, and her son shouted, "Wanger." DD1, 2 at the time, going past the cheese counter in Waitrose dash, "What's that smell, Mummy? Have you done a fart?" To the seagulls on the beach, "Go away, Mr. Seagull. Go away. Bugger off." Oh yes, the car one's DD, 3 at the time, and I were watching a lady try to park her car in a smallish space. We were waiting to go past, in summer, so all windows open. DD, oh my God. "Mummy, you could put a jumbo jet in there, couldn't you? She's taking the piss. Hurry up, would you?" Another one. DP was driving and someone tried to cut him up, and then repeatedly acted stupid trying to overtake us. DP just zoomed off and they got stuck behind another car. Me? Ha ha suckers DD, yeah mother duckers. Another one. My DS answered the phone. He was about 7 and shouted down the phone, stupid bloody salespeople. I managed to retrieve the phone, and it was the school nurse wanting to make a home visit. By the way, DS has ADHD. DS has problems pronouncing FS. They come out more like a SL sound. He's only 3. Imagine my mortification when, after being given a flag at a day out and being very excited about it, he runs round our completely surrounded suburban garden yelling mummy flag over and over at the top of his voice. Years ago, I was in Smith's with my every other weekend stepkids. We were looking for presents for DH for Christmas, so it was packed. Stepson, who was about 4 or 5 at the time, spotted a football annual with the players on the front lined up for a free kick, all covering their balls, as they do. He said extremely loudly, "Look why is that man is holding his vagina?" I could only guess he had overheard his mum telling his bigger sisters the proper anatomical name, and thought it applied to lads too, but I nearly died. I've got tears rolling down my face. These just get funnier and funnier. Some have reminded me of a few more of DDS. On a back train heading north to visit family, I rang DH on my mobile, only to hear DD, then 1/2 announce very loudly to a packed train, "Mummy is trying to find Daddy, he'll be in the pub. He's always in the pub drinking too much beer. Mummy can never find him." Cue sympathetic looks all round, and it's not true. Another pretty scary one, at about the same age, in front of MIL, thankfully her, and not my own mum. "Mummy, Daddy doesn't really go to work, you know, he really goes to see other pretty ladies." Poor sod was working his socks off at the time, and when I asked Didi later why she lied about Daddy, she owned up to it being because she thought I would be cross and stop him going to work, as she missed him. No idea where she even got the idea for that one from. This ain't spoken, but the humiliation was there. I was hosting a neighborhood watch scheme in our house, and halfway through my Didi toddled in wearing a pair of my worn knickers on her head, soiled gusset outwards. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Before you go, please like, comment, and subscribe for more daily uploads.